The beeping was steady. That soft, rhythmic sound you don't really notice until it's the only thing anchoring you to the world. I stared at the blank hospital ceiling, counting the tiny cracks in the plaster above my bed. But my mind wasn't on my injuries. It wasn't on the broken ribs or the stitched-up gash in my side. It was on the number 0. That cold, hollow 0 I saw staring back at me from my bank app just moments ago. I blinked, hoping I'd misread it. That maybe the morphine was messing with my vision. But no. I checked it again. Same balance, same heartbreak. Every last cent. Gone. Gone while I was lying in this hospital bed, half conscious, healing from a wreck I barely remember. And the person who took it? My wife, Savannah. The woman I married 7 years ago. The woman who once held my hand during nightmares and whispered that she'd never leave my side. She stole everything. The betrayal hit harder than the crash. I felt my chest tighten, not from pain but from rage, grief, disbelief. All of it swirling together like a storm I couldn't outrun. How could she do this? How long had she been planning it? I closed my eyes and tried to steady my breathing, even as the IV stung a little in my arm. I'd been in the ICU for 3 days. Sedated, vulnerable. And during that time, she must have seen it as the perfect opportunity. Savannah was smart, too smart, but she wasn't smarter than me. Not when I had time, not when I had clarity. And right now, I had both. My name's Daniel Reeves. I'm 42 years, old, former Marine, 3rd Recon Battalion. These days I work as a cybersecurity consultant. That means I'm good with systems, better with people, and I don't panic. I plan, always 3 steps ahead, but I'll admit it. I didn't see this coming. I trusted her. God, that's the part that hurts most. I trusted her with my life. And she emptied it behind my back. I reached for my phone and scrolled to the only person I could call without emotion clouding the situation. Zach, my emergency contact. My best friend since boot camp. If there's one guy I know who won't feed me sympathy or drama, it's him. He picked up after the second ring. His voice came through calm and clear. You all right? No. I swallowed, kept my voice low. The account's empty. There was a pause. Not shock. He's not the kind of guy who reacts fast, just quiet calculation. Savannah, he asked. Who else? He let out a slow breath. Want me to pull her credit activity? I can get into it. Already working on it, I told him. But I need you to check something else. See if she's accessed the joint property accounts, the deed titles, anything that's still in both names. I'm on it. Before he hung up, his voice lowered. Dan, you want to talk about it? No, because if I started talking, I wouldn't stop. And right now, emotion was a luxury I couldn't afford. Not yet. A soft knock on the door pulled me out of my thoughts. Nurse Haley peeked in. She'd been on rotation since I was admitted. Young, polite, always quiet. But tonight, she stepped in a little slower. Her eyes flicked to my face, then down to my IV. She left in a hurry last night, she said quietly. Didn't say much, just seemed nervous. I didn't respond. Just nodded. Haley lingered for a moment before she added, She never looked at you. Not once. Then she slipped out of the room. And that was when it clicked. The way Savannah avoided eye contact. The rushed goodbyes. The way she squeezed my shoulder with one hand and held her purse close with the other. She'd already made the withdrawal. She wasn't saying goodbye. She was checking to see if I'd wake up and catch her. But here's the thing. She didn't know who I really was. She married the version of me that smiled at family BBQs and paid the bills. She forgot I'm a strategist, a builder, a man who always plays the long game, and she just became my next mission. Funny thing about betrayal. It doesn't hit you all at once. It comes in fragments, moments you brushed off, conversations you thought were harmless, jokes that weren't really jokes, and when it finally clicks, you realize the whole damn picture was always right in front of you. You just didn't want to see it. 4 years ago, I walked away from active duty. No ceremony, no send-off, just A quiet goodbye to a life that taught me everything about discipline and nothing about peace. I moved to Denver. Figured a city with clean mountains and fast Wi-Fi was as good a place as any to start over. I picked up freelance cybersecurity contracts, built a solid client list, and slowly put my life back together. That's when I met her, Tessa. She worked at a downtown marketing firm, walked like she owned the sidewalk, smiled like she had secrets worth keeping. And me? I was hooked from the first joke she cracked about my boring coffee order. We started dating. Quick, intense. She was sweet, always touching my arm when she laughed, asking questions that made me feel seen. She made it easy to open up. Too easy. Year later, we were married. Looking back, it was a damn sprint, but at the time it felt like momentum, like maybe, just maybe, I'd found something real. But even then, the signs were there. Tessa hated talking about money, said it gave her anxiety. She'd wave her hand and laugh. That's your department, babe. You're the smart one. But she had no problem spending it. Designer bags, nail salons that served champagne, weekends with the girls that somehow included $1,000 hotel bills. She always had an explanation. I told myself it wasn't a big deal. We weren't broke. I was landing contracts left and right. She had a salary. We lived well. So what if she liked the finer things? I was trained to pick up on lies, but not hers. Maybe. I didn't want to see it. Then there was Linda, Tessa's cousin, always around, too around. She was the type who'd walk into your house without knocking, pour herself a drink, and prop her feet on your couch like she paid rent. I didn't like her and she didn't care. One time we were at a barbecue and Linda leaned in while Tessa was inside getting drinks. She smirked and said, "You know if you drop dead, she'll have a new man by Tuesday, right?" I laughed. It off, but it stuck. Brandon, my younger brother, visited a few times during those years. We were close growing up, but something about Tessa made him distant. I never brought up the money. The joint account Tessa and I built over 4 years, over $180,000. That was supposed to be our future. I thought we were on the same page, but sometimes the person next to you is reading an entirely different book. There were other signs. Tessa's phone would buzz late at night. She'd glance at it, then flip it over. Said it was just Linda. I shrugged it off. Once, Linda even called me the wrong name, Matt. I asked her about it, and she giggled. Oh, he was one of Tessa's old flames. My bad. Tessa brushed it off too. Said Linda had no filter. Still, it felt off. Then came the collapse. I was working a remote gig, deep in a data recovery job. Long hours, poor sleep. At first I thought the pain in my side was just a pulled muscle. Old injury from Iraq. I'd been dealing with flare-ups for years. But this was different. I remember stumbling to the kitchen, the floor slipping sideways, everything spinning, and then black. Next thing I knew, I was waking up in a hospital bed, an oxygen mask tight over my face, and a nurse telling me I'd undergone emergency surgery. Internal bleeding. The first thing I remember about Tessa's visit, she was calm, too calm. Her voice was light, like she was reading off a weather report. She kissed my forehead, said she was glad I was okay, then asked about my bank PIN. Said it was just in case something happened. At the time I was groggy. I chalked it up to practicality. But now I see the timeline clearly. She didn't flinch when she heard I almost died. She didn't ask how I felt, what I needed, if I was scared. She wanted access. That was all, and I gave it to her. I handed her the key while lying flat on my back, too medicated to question anything. The moment she had it, the countdown began. She must have waited just long enough for the first nurse shift change, long enough to be sure I'd stay unconscious. Then she drained it. Every last dollar, and she walked out of that hospital with a smile. But here's what. She didn't know. She didn't know I'd built redundancy into everything I touched, including my bank accounts. She didn't know the PIN she asked for was only a decoy. She didn't know that Zach was watching, and she sure as hell didn't know I was 3 steps ahead. There's a special kind of nausea that doesn't come from painkillers or infection. It comes when you realize the person you trusted most didn't just lie to you. They prepared for it. Plotted it. I was propped up in the hospital bed, still hooked to a saline drip, heart monitor steady in the background, and my hands were trembling, not from pain, not from the surgery, but from rage. I just logged into our joint savings. 213.74. Gone. What stared back at me now wasn't a balance, and it was an echo. A few $100. Enough for gas and groceries. Not a future. Not what we built. And there was no warning, no emergency, no explanation. Just vanished. I tried calling, her Tessa, straight to voicemail. Twice I texted her, call me, now. Then again, where's the money? Nothing. I stared at the phone screen until it dimmed, then buzzed. But it wasn't her. Zach. He asked, you good? I replied, no, it's gone. All of it. He called immediately. I picked up. He didn't waste time. How bad? Every cent, I told him. 213,000. Last withdrawal was 3 days ago. He cursed under his breath. I'll be there in 30. I also texted Brandon, my brother. Told him something was wrong, needed him to check in. His reply was strange. Just said, I'll try to swing by later this week. No urgency, no follow-up. That stung more than I expected. When Zach arrived, he brought his laptop. Quiet, focused, the way we both got during ops back in the day. I slid him my phone, told him my login. Check the activity. He nodded and started typing. Minutes passed, then he muttered, she didn't just withdraw, she wired it. He turned the screen to me. Multiple transactions, same amounts, spread over a week. Sent to 2 accounts. One was in Tessa's name, the other, Linda's. I stared at the screen like it was a punch in the chest. Linda, the same cousin who called me the wrong name, the one who cracked those careless jokes about Tessa moving on. It wasn't a joke, it was foreshadowing. Zach glanced at me. You want me to track these down? I nodded. Discreetly, don't trigger anything, yet. While he worked, I replayed everything. Every girl's weekend. Every unexplained charge on the card. The last-minute spa trips. The phone calls late at night. None of it was random. Tessa wasn't escaping. She was preparing. Setting up a second life while mine hung by a thread in the ICU. And Linda, she was in on it. That night, I called Alan. We hadn't talked much since he left active duty, but I knew he'd take my call. He worked in financial forensics now. Corporate cleanups, tracing stolen funds, fraud investigations. He picked up. On the second ring, Reeves, he said. Damn, it's been a while. I need a favor, I said, quiet, off record. He asked if it was legal. Mostly, I told him. He chuckled. Send me what you've got. Alan wasn't cheap, but he owed me. I saved his ass in Fallujah. While he started pulling strings, I made another call. Detective Miles. I helped him once with a digital security breach in the precinct. He said he owed me dinner. I didn't want dinner. I wanted eyes. I explained the situation, vaguely, told him I had suspicions but no evidence. Not yet. He paused before saying, if you find something concrete, bring it to me first. Don't go nuclear without a case. I'm not planning anything, I said, and it wasn't a lie. Not yet. The next piece fell into my lap by accident. Pamela, Tessa's hairdresser, posted a photo on Instagram. A casual salon selfie. Tessa was in the background, hair foiled, phone in hand. I DM'd Pamela just to ask when it was taken. She responded almost instantly, said Tessa had been glowing lately, talking about starting over in Florida. Then, added, she said she needed to get away from the baggage, thought she was joking. Baggage. That was me. I was the dead weight in her story, and that's when it really sank in. This wasn't impulsive. This wasn't a panic move. It was premeditated. She waited until I was weakest, until my body couldn't fight, until my guard was down. She bet on me being too injured to recover, too medicated to notice, maybe even dead. I sat there for a long time, the hospital lights humming above me, Zach typing quietly beside me. And I realized something. She didn't just steal from me. She erased me. She tried to vanish without a trace, went with my money, my trust, and my silence. But she forgot one thing. I wasn't dead. I was watching, and I was done playing the fool. Revenge, when done right, isn't loud. It doesn't come with fireworks or shouting matches. It comes in silence, with the calm breath of someone who knows exactly what they're doing. And I knew exactly what I was doing. They thought they won. Not they. Tessa, Linda, even my own brother. They thought I was too broken, too far gone. They thought I'd stay in that hospital bed. But I'd already begun. I didn't rage. I didn't confront. I didn't shout. I watched. From my hospital bed, I started setting things in motion, quietly. My line of work trained me well. Cybersecurity consulting isn't just fixing firewalls. It's about patterns, loopholes, watching where people think they're safe. I installed remote tracking tools on the shared laptop Tessa used, a silent keylogger, geo-ping alerts tied to her phone's location services, email intercepts redirected through a dummy server I owned. Every word she typed, I read. Every step she took, I traced. It wasn't about catching her anymore. It was about building a timeline, because if I was going to burn this to the ground, it needed to be airtight. Alan came through like he always did. He cracked into the routing paths and offshore nodes. They weren't just hoarding my money. Tessa and Linda were building something. Wellness consultancy in Miami. Fake names, fake services. The kind of business that sounds spiritual on the outside and smells like fraud underneath. Alan showed me the account trail. Wire transfers split into 3 shells, all pointing to a Cayman account tagged under a shell LLC, Serene Horizons, LLC, cute. I baited her next. Using a fake Gmail I made in my lawyer's name, Gregory Thomas, I sent an email. Mr. Reeves is reviewing changes to his estate. We will be contacting next of kin beneficiaries shortly. If any relevant parties should be excluded, kindly confirm by the end of the week. She replied within the hour. That won't be necessary. We're estranged. He wouldn't want anything going to me. That was all I needed. She thought I was rewriting my will. She thought I was letting go. She had no idea she'd just confirmed her motives. I called Detective Miles again. Still unofficial. Still careful. I'm not opening a case, I said. Not yet, he sighed. But you've got something? I've got names, accounts, movement. Give me one flag, just one, and I'll run it, so I did. Brandon, my brother. Turns out one of the beneficiary accounts tied to Tessa's trust was his. She'd opened a trust using stolen funds and added him as a future silent partner. I didn't know what she told him, maybe that I was unstable, maybe that I was dying. But he played along, didn't ask questions. Took the bait. Miles ran his background. Nothing illegal. But enough smoke, and where there's smoke, Zach didn't hesitate. I gave him a target. He made a plan. He found Linda at a bar she frequented, some downtown spot where the lights were low and her mouth ran loose. He sat 2 stools over, made eye contact, dropped a fake name, acted rich. She talked. Of course she did, and he was wired. I told her to move faster. She said at one point. I said, Tess, what if he wakes up and remembers his codes? But she said she knew him. Said he trusted her too much to question it. That alone? Gold. But Pamela, the hairdresser, gave me more. I texted her from a dummy number. Told her someone might be investigating Tessa. Minutes later, she sent Tessa a message. Hey, just heads up, someone was asking about you. Don't know what I said. Hope I didn't leak too much. Tessa replied fast. Just deny everything. It's fine, they can't trace it back unless someone talks, she admitted it. And the timestamp matched Linda's bar rant perfectly. Alan took the next step. He combed through Serene Horizons LLC, and he found a slip-up. One of the filings listed a wrong tax ID. It flagged a mismatch on a quarterly report. All we had to do was send it to the IRS anonymously. Within 72 hours, the account was frozen, $173,000 locked. Gone from their hands. Alan called me that night. We got it, not all, but most. I nodded, but I wasn't done. Because revenge isn't about the money, it's about the message. I staged my checkout, got the hospital to discharge me under a private care agreement. No official record, no insurance updates. Tessa thought I was still under sedation. Then one day she opened her inbox. There was a message waiting. Smile for the camera, sweetheart. You always loved attention. Attached was a still frame, her and Linda, standing in a bank lobby, smiling. Security footage from 3 weeks ago. Footage I'd pulled before they even touched the last wire. She never replied. I called Gregory, a corporate attorney I once saved from a ransomware disaster, told him I needed airtight documents, civil filings, identity claims. He drafted a complaint so thick it could hold its own in federal court. Then he set up a fake meeting. Told Tessa it was about my estate, told her she needed to show up with ID, documents, proof of absence of conflict. She agreed. Meanwhile, Angela got to work. She's an ex-cop turned PI, built for quiet takedowns. She hand-delivered 3 bundles, one for Tessa, one for Linda, one for Brandon. Inside, the emails, the transaction logs, the wire recordings, Pamela's screenshot, Zach's bar audio neatly transcribed, and a letter from me, just 6 words. You knew, and now I do. Controlled explosion. I didn't need to be there. Didn't need to scream. I watched from a borrowed apartment downtown. First, Linda vanished, deleted her socials, packed up her condo. Then Tessa started calling everyone she knew, trying to figure out who ratted. She texted Zach. He didn't answer. She tried Brandon. That's when he called me. His voice shook. Dan, man, I didn't know. I let it ring. Then go to voicemail. Because I wasn't interested in apologies, was building a silence loud enough to haunt them. They didn't just steal money. They stole peace, trust, time. But I took it back, piece by piece, quietly, ruthlessly. And now, they don't know where I am. They just know I'm watching, and I'm not done. Some people think justice comes in a courtroom, with a gavel, a verdict, maybe even applause. But that's not how it happens. In real life. In real life, justice comes when the liar has to look you in the eye and knows you see everything. It was raining that night. Not a thunderstorm. Just enough drizzle to make the streetlights shimmer like broken glass. I heard the knock before I saw her. Tessa. Soaked. Mascara streaked. Hair clinging to her cheeks. No makeup, no polished charm. Just raw panic. She looked at me like she'd seen a ghost. I didn't know what I was doing, she said, her voice cracking. Linda. She manipulated me. She said it was just temporary. I didn't say a word, just turned, walked back inside, and came back with a folder. I handed it to her without emotion. She took it like it might burn her fingers. Inside wire transfers, email prints, Linda's recorded confession, Pamela's screenshots, and divorce papers. Her eyes scanned it, slowly at first, then faster, like she was searching for a way out. She looked up at me. You're ending this after everything? I finally spoke. You didn't just steal my money, Tessa. You tried to erase me. She shook her head, angry now. I didn't mean to, but I cut her off. Calm, steady. You thought I'd be 6 feet under. Her lip trembled, but I was always 3 steps ahead. She started crying then. Not the kind that asks for forgiveness. The kind that knows it's over. Linda disappeared. Pamela told me a week later. She came in for a final hair appointment, paid in cash, and said she was heading south. Drained her account. burned her bridges. Gone, and good riddance. Brandon finally broke too. He texted me a few days after the folders went out, said he was sorry, said he was broke, and Tessa offered him a cut to keep quiet. He claimed he didn't know the full plan. I didn't reply, just forwarded the message to Gregory, my lawyer. Another nail for the court filing. The final blow wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Gregory filed the civil suit. Alan helped secure the remaining assets. The IRS investigation sealed the rest. By the time the dust settled, Tessa had no money, no second chance, and no one left to call. I didn't do it for revenge, not really. I did it for the man lying in that hospital bed, the one who trusted too easily, who loved blindly. He deserved closure. He deserved truth, and I gave it to him. Quietly. Completely. Now, I live without her, but with something even better, peace. The house is quiet now. Too quiet for a place that used to echo with footsteps that weren't mine, laughter that wasn't real. I sold it, packed what mattered, which wasn't much, and moved into a small cabin tucked into the edge of the woods. No noise, no neighbors. Just the wind, the trees, and peace. For the first time in years, I can breathe. I don't feel joy. Not exactly. This wasn't about winning. It was about knowing the truth. Taking my power back. I trusted blindly. I loved deeply. And yeah, I almost died naive, but I didn't stay that way. I rose, and this time I brought wisdom with me. I started a foundation, small, quiet, for veterans like me, the ones carrying invisible wounds. We don't talk much. We build. We hike. We sit in silence that feels safe. It feels right. If there's one thing I've learned, it's this. Sometimes the ones closest to you aren't your safest place, and they're the ones holding the knife. But survival? It's not about staying safe. It's about being ready when the knife finally falls.